Did you hear about the freakouts at the cheer competition? It was here in Dallas over the weekend. WFAA has a story. This is funny and sad at the same time. I'll explain.
It just blew out. And then somebody kept saying there's a gun, and the cops kept saying, no, there's no gun. But they said there's a gun, there's a shooter.
Chaos in downtown Dallas yesterday. Cheerleaders and their families ran for their lives, thinking there was an active shooter inside the Kay Bailey Hutchison Convention Center. Thousands of cheerleaders from across the country are in town for the NCAA All-Star National Championships. Some of them even took cover right outside our WFAA studio lobby. Police confirmed shortly after there was no shooter. The NCAA canceled yesterday's events after the incident. Some of those canceled events were scheduled late into the night. Today is supposed to be the final day of the championship. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chris Sadeghi, and we want to start with the latest on that situation that caused so much panic in downtown. Our reporter Janelle Fort is live at the convention center where the event will go on this morning. And Janelle, it was such a chaotic scene yesterday. A lot of fear, a lot of crying. What are you seeing and hearing as those cheerleading teams arrive this morning?
Yeah, enough of that. Thank you very much, WFA. By the way, at the beginning, wasn't that a weird juxtaposition? They had like the happy-go-lucky music along with one of the scariest situations these people had seen.
It just blew out. And then somebody kept saying there's a gun, and the cops kept saying, no, there's no gun. But they said there's a gun, there's a shooter.
This lady's like harrowing. Oh my God, there's a gun. I thought there was a gun, and the cops said there's no gun. But it's just like happy little acoustic guitar and some clapping in the background. Isn't that great? We thought there was a mass shooting. It just turns out we have a bunch of paranoid cheer moms. We are wound up too tight about guns. Or not. Look, I shouldn't. Let me put a lot of qualifiers in here. Some people are way too wound up about guns. Some people have been just living in this bubble of all they see in the media is that guns are scary. And so any instance of a gun like showing up or being pulled out or brandished or anything, people lose their minds. People hear a loud bang noise like when your old car used to backfire, people just hit the deck. Really? Every time you hear a loud noise, you just hit the deck? More people die falling out of bed every year in America than die in a mass shooting. And that's not me just saying something to be funny on the radio. That's a real statistic. You understand that? You understand when you break down mass shootings in America? How not susceptible, how little you should be afraid of such things? Oh no, I heard what might be a gunshot. Better start running. Really? Even if it's a long ways away and it's been 30 seconds and the shots have stopped, you're still going to continue to just, soil your pants for the rest of the day? Can you calm down a second? Now, where I grew up, you couldn't see my neighbors. I lived in a big hayfield in the middle of nowhere, so you could just go outside and anytime you want, just start squeezing off rounds, and I used to do that. I'd get bored, just load the gun. There's 13-year-old Parker out there just shooting cans, shooting a feed sack, shooting random horses. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Just see if you're paying attention. But, hearing a gunshot, I don't want to say it was normal. But even though you couldn't see the neighbors, every once in a while, like way off in the distance, you could hear like a neighbor just, oh, look, someone else is doing target practice. I don't know. Maybe that's the Germanys, or maybe that's Chris, or we don't know. But you could hear guns. So, I don't know. I don't automatically freak out when I hear a gunshot. And I found that out the hard way because when I was living in New Orleans, I was on Bourbon Street one day. It was super packed. And there was two gunshots that went, and then everyone started just screaming and running like away. And I'm an idiot. I heard where the gunshots came from, and I was looking. I'm like, oh my goodness, did someone get hit? Did the guy get tackled? Do they need my help? Is anything going on? Maybe we need to do a tourniquet or something. And I was like the white guy in a black comedian's bit, where all the people are running away except for like some idiot white people who are just like, hey, what's going on over here? Like, I guess we don't have that instinct. But I guess it's not a racial thing, because when you look on the video and what you saw from WFAA, this was people of all races just decided to go nuts because they heard a loud pop. You know, there are negative consequences to constantly sharpening people's razor blades when it comes to gun violence, or when it comes to racism, or when it comes to misogyny, or when it comes to people not being fair. And people have been trained to just be scared of things that are completely irrational, like wearing a mask. I need to be scared breathing unfiltered air. It's like, oh my God, what hellscape of fear do you live in? Every time you hear a loud bang, you're supposed to scream your head off, grab your kids, and jump behind the bushes. At WFAA, they had a video of people like hiding behind the bushes at WFAA. Like, this is minutes after the sounds have stopped. How long are you going to hide there? It's crazy. It's crazy because this is an amendment in the Constitution. This is in the Bill of Rights. Can you imagine us treating any other Bill of Rights like it's some sort of scary thing that we just constantly have some sort of just latent fear that's always buzzing in the back of your head? So whenever you hear a pop, you just go nuts. Because I remember when the open carry, the constitutional carry was being debated here in Texas, there were people in the comment section online. There were people calling my radio show saying I should be able to go out in public without having to see some guy with a gun on his holster just in the middle where there's kids around and there's people around, and like, you feel unsafe because you see a gun? You feel unsafe because there's a right in the Constitution for us to keep and bear arms, and when someone actually exercises that right, you get nervous? Does this work for any other right that's expounded on in the Constitution? Do you get all nervous when you see a woman's voter registration card? Do you get all nervous when you see a member of the press interviewing people? Oh, my God, freedom of the press. This is so scary. We better run. Oh, my God. It's just like the battle scene from Braveheart. But we have such a misunderstanding, an overhyping, and this is all almost 100% the media's fault. You can give a nice assist to academia and celebrities who push this stuff too. But judging by the media, guns, mass shootings, that's something we all need to be worried about all day, every day. It just happens all the time in America, and you can't ever get away from it, and your kid's not safe, and they have to have plastic backpacks and metal detectors. And no, they don't. No, they don't. Do you realize how unlikely it is that you are going to be killed in a mass shooting? Do you know what the stats are for that? I mean, you're far more likely to die shooting yourself, and not just suicide, like on accident, cleaning a gun. Like, it is not even close. There's more people who die in accidental gunshots than mass shootings. There's like 30,000 times as many people die from suicide from a gun. And really, when it comes to shootings, period, people are worried about, gun violence in America. This affects us all. Not really. Over 90% of the murder victims every year in the United States that are on the business end of a gun are convicted felons. They have a felony in their past. So I don't know, maybe you've been running drugs for the cartel, or you've got some sort of, felonious history that I don't know about. But for the rest of us, being concerned about dying in a mass shooting is wildly irrational. That's like soiling your diaper because it's raining. I might get hit by lightning. And that's not even an exaggeration. We have almost the same amount of people, depending on the year, obviously these fluctuate, but the amount of people who are killed in mass shootings versus the number of people who are struck by lightning in America is pretty comparable. It's just like a few hundred, like somewhere between 200 and 400 a year. And that depends on how you define mass shooting, because mass shootings, we had a mass shooting in Amarillo a couple weeks ago that got no attention. 11 people were shot. Why? Well, because it was at the club, and it was from a target demographic that we don't want to insult, and so we can't pin it on MAGA people, so it just flies under the radar. But when you look at like extremists involved mass shootings or just random mass shootings with psychos, it's one of the last things you should worry about. Really, the only thing behind that is a shark attack. That's the only thing that you're less likely to die from. Oh, wait. Actually, when I look at it, you're less likely to die, or you're more likely to die in a mass shooting than both sharks and asteroids. So I guess I misspoke there. So you don't have to just go around wearing a helmet all day because you think an asteroid might fall out of the sky. Mathematically speaking, that's the only thing dumber than being scared of a mass shooting at a cheerleader convention. It's like one of the sweetest, safest, most innocent places on earth. It probably wasn't even a real fight. It was probably like a slap fight. It was probably an argument over Pokemon cards or something lame like that. Someone slipped and knocked over an American flagpole and it pops on the ground, and now we have to have a news story and people are freaking out. We all need to calm down a little bit. Guns are scary. Congratulations, Guns Are Scary crowd. You did this. All right, thank you, Mr. Jovi, and welcome to Dead or Alive. I am your host, James Parker. In the 70s Musician Edition, I'm going to give you 10 musicians who had massive hits in the 70s. Actually, here's what I did. Just to narrow it down, maybe this will help the contestants a little bit. I looked up the top 20 songs. I'm sorry, top 40 songs. I only made it through the top 20 artists. But out of the top 40 songs of the 70s, really the top 20, I just looked at the artists and I was like, all right, would this be good for Dead or Alive? And that's all I did. So you've heard of all these people, I imagine. You just have to guess if they're dead or alive. And the 70s wasn't that long ago, so let's see what we can do here. We're going to start with Becky in Arlington. You ready to play Dead or Alive?
Yes.
How coherent were you in the 70s? Is that your time? Because my time is more like the 90s, maybe a little 80s. But 70s, you comfortable with that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I graduated high school in 71.
Perfect. Absolutely. You're going to nail this. I have a good feeling about this, Becky.
Okay.
All right, let's start off with Barry Gibb from the Bee Gees. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
Damn it. I mean, he's alive. He's
It's his other brother that died.
I think both of his other brothers died. Or I think there's he might be the only one left.
Yeah, you're right. Well, darn, I can't call back either.
Well, you can just hang on, and if it cycles back around, we'll see. Hang on. That happened last week, but that's a rarity. Cody.
Yes.
Cody in White Settlement, you ready to play Dead or Alive?
I sure am.
Well, did you hear Becky guess on Barry Gibb?
Yes.
And what is he?
He's alive.
Yeah, he's alive. All right. The other Barry on the list is Barry White. Is he dead or alive?
He is DOA. Dead.
Yeah, well, dead on arrival. He arrived in 2003. Gloria Gaynor, dead or alive? Remember, I Will Survive?
Yeah. Dead.
No, 81 years old, still alive. She's still with us. Out of all the disco people, that might be one of my favorites, Gloria Gaynor. Burke and Granberry, you're next up on Dead or Alive. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, the Motor City Madman, Ted Nugent. Is he dead or alive?
He's alive.
He is alive. I got a Ted Nugent story after the show if we got time. Robert Plant, lead singer of Led Zeppelin, dead or alive?
He's alive.
He is alive. Mick Fleetwood, the drummer for Fleetwood Mac, dead or alive?
He dead.
Nope, he's alive, 77. I just saw him in Vegas like 3 years ago. He can rock. He can barely walk to the drums. But once he gets up there, looks like a monkey just going nuts. Pretty cool. Who's up? Keith? Keith is the next one. Keith, North Richland Hills. You ready for Dead or Alive?
I am.
Lead singer of the Eagles, Don Henley, dead or alive?
He's still alive.
Don Henley's alive, 77 years old. He's a Texas native.
That's right.
Stevie Wonder, dead or alive?
Stevie's passed.
I have him alive at 74 years old, sir. You trying to kill off Stevie Wonder before he's done? Thank you, Keith. Maybe we will get back around to Becky. Brian in Plano, are you going to screw this up?
No, I'm not.
All right, I want to give you these Jason Aldean tickets. You only got to get 2 of them right. The great Bill Withers, is he dead or alive?
Bill Withers is dead.
Bill Withers is dead. And finally, David Bowie, or if he had been from Texas, it'd be David Bowie. But is he dead or alive?
He is dead also.
He is dead. All right. It almost got back around to Becky, but Brian, you cut her off. Unless you don't want the Jason Aldean tickets, were you just playing for your own honor, or do you want the tickets?
Sorry, Becky, I'll take them.
There you go. No, hey, you earned it. There's no shame there. No need to be chivalrous here on Dead or Alive. My big winner here. Did I just hang up on him on accident? No, Brian in Plano. He's still there. All right, so Brian in Plano just won 2 tickets to see Jason Aldean coming to Dos Equis Pavilion August 14th with special guest Nate Smith, Ray Lynn, and DJ Silver. For tickets, information, livenation.com. This has been Dead or Alive. All right, real quick. So I got the first time I met Ted Nugent, it was on the phone. I was like the sidekick on a satellite show like 20 years ago. And this guy calls in. He's like, hey, James, it's Uncle Ted. And I go, Uncle Ted? Yeah, Ted Nugent. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm the drummer for Molly Hatchet. He goes, no, seriously, this is Ted Nugent. And I'm like, well, look, you're doing a good Ted Nugent impersonation. If you could tell me your real name, I'll go ahead and put you through, and you can do this whole Ted Nugent bit on the air. And he's like, no, this is really me. And I'm like, well, I don't buy it. And so he gave me the number for his manager, so I had to call like Nugent Enterprises in Detroit, and some lady named Linda answered. I'm like, hey, you're the manager, you're the guest booker for Ted Nugent? She's like, yeah. I'm like, some guy just called and said he wants to be on my show. I'm on a talk radio show on Sirius. She's like, yeah, that's probably him. Go ahead. Here's his cell phone number. You call him back. So I called him back, and it was him. So that was awesome. And then I was doing a show in Waco like 8 years ago now. And he has a ranch outside of Waco, and he called in. He's like, hey, you remember me? It's Ted Nugent. I'm like, well, I'll never forget you now. So I don't know. Maybe he's listening today. What's up, Ted? How you doing?
Linsky now contradicting himself. We'll give you the very latest with Robert Greenway, plus Kay Smythe Hill on the Joe Pag Show. So let's talk tonight, 8 till midnight, on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.
If your endurance and stamina are not what they used to be, you're not alone. Maybe you've ordered Cialis and Viagra online and it didn't work for you. This is very common, and you're no different than thousands of Metroplex men who have turned to Men's Edge Medical. Men's Edge Medical is ready to help you the right way, so don't be fooled by online medications and gimmicks. At Men's Edge Medical, they take time to consult and diagnose, and they perform an ultrasound to hear blood flow. All their treatments are safe and customized. Many men come to Men's Edge.
Have you seen the stories about Tesla protesters? And it's not like a one-off or anecdotal, like, oh, this has happened twice. This is a sustained pattern of not even single people, like groups of people going to their local Tesla dealer or auto show or whatever, and either spray painting the place up or surrounding the building and spray painting crap. They show up with signs and chant and sing. You'll hear some of it in a second. But this is another issue where if you're going to people's places of business and harassing their customers and trying to put them out of business based solely on their political ideology, if you're using violence or intimidation to advance a political agenda, you have just met the definition of terrorist. Now, if you are doing that combined with damaging property, combined with shouting people down at town halls, you don't have the right to call other people fascist. Guess what you are? So here's just so you know I'm not making it up. Some Tesla protesters last week. There was a lady that went in and started spray painting Cybertrucks. And so instead of punching her unconscious and dragging her out on the sidewalk for the cops to pick her up, all they did was go hit the deadbolt so the crowd of other protesters who were on the outside couldn't get in and do more damage. They're just watching her damage these cars, not doing anything about it. But listen to this real quick.
Nobody voted for Elon Musk. Nobody voted for Elon Musk. Nobody voted for Elon Musk.
You know, the drum really helps. That sounds like 10 times better if you have a drum or an instrument or something. Sounds like you're not making it up on the spot. Nobody voted for Elon Musk. Where were you people? Did y'all say the same thing about Anthony Fauci when he destroyed all of our lives for 2 straight years? When millions of people lost their job over mask mandates and vaccine mandates and lockdowns and air travel restrictions? No, nobody elected Fauci, but that didn't bother you when they was on your team. If your only complaint, or if your first complaint, or your biggest complaint about what's going on with Doge and the Trump administration or Elon Musk is that he wasn't elected, then he must be doing pretty damn good. Because I can look at what's going on in my political opposition and tear them down based on their policy preferences. But just because he wasn't elected, so what? We should still be on the hook for the taxpayers funding another global warming coloring book in Malawi? God, thank you so much, God, for making our political opponents so dumb. That's going to do it for the James Show today. Don't spray paint a Tesla. Just try and behave yourself. And we'll come back and do the show again tomorrow. If you need more James Show action in the meantime, go check out the podcast wherever you're already listening to podcasts. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you're on. Look for WBAP. Look for James Parker. Every follow, every like, every share counts. And I love you for it. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. This has been the James Show on News Talk 820 WBAP. Now on FM at 93.3.